It's so rare to see a shooting game that literally, okay, maybe not literally, but certainly figuratively, everyone is playing. All the who's who's, every sub-community, all around the globe. You know the ones, those rare indie shmups that almost change the genre's landscape. I mean, it's not like the big guys are doing it these days. We've seen it before. Zero Ranger, or Zero Ranger if you will, turned vertical shooting on its head with an intricate, challenging progression and an unmistakable presentation. Crimson Clover World Explosion made the jump to console on the Switch, adding an addictive arrange mode and transforming into the definitive doujin shooter. Drain has surprised us all with an extremely approachable game and incredible production value, all with no warning. May 25th, 2024. Once again, we're witnessing another great on its meteoric rise, and while its gameplay is absolutely stacked, there's also a little controversy to go with it. Welcome to Bullet Tengoku, where in this feature we're taking a look at Devil Blade Reboot on Steam. Devil Blade Reboot is a single-player 4-3 aspect vertical shoot-'em-up developed by Vanillaware illustrator Shigetake and released to PC via Steam on May 25th, 2024. Originally created in 1996 using the DIY Dezaemon Plus software for the original PlayStation, a new Windows prototype would later make its way to the greater masses in 2018. This prototype would eventually lead to the game we have now, which itself is 10 years in the making using the specialized shooting game builder software. A side-scrolling sequel would also be created in Dezaemon 2 for the Saturn some time ago, but that's something to explore at a later time. It'd be so easy to just say that everyone that hasn't played this game should just do it immediately. And fair, everyone really should. But there's a ton of cool stuff I want to talk about in Devil Blade that I think makes it pretty special, so let's take a closer look. With its typical control scheme and 3 inputs, Devil Blade is deceptively simple. Just as with any other vertical shooting game, you can move around the screen, shoot your guns to destroy your enemies, and drop a bomb every now and again. Immediately though, there are some wrinkles that make things pretty interesting. First up is your main shot. It can be fired in both wide and narrow flavors, complete with variable speed in either mode. But by default, unlike other games where tapping and holding the same button would normally result in these separate shooting functions, Devil Blade incorporates a toggle into the control scheme with its own input. Wide and narrow have to be purposely selected before they're activated. I think I prefer that it all be handled like most Denmaku shooters, with the option of a dedicated rapid-only button, with narrow only activating when the main dual-purpose shot button is held. And thankfully, an alternate control method is available that dedicates wide to one input and narrow to the other, with narrow overriding wide. Almost pure cave. Granted, throughout my time in the game I did grow to like the toggle nature of the main fire, so I'd say at least give it a fair shake. Next up, bombs. A staple of most shooting games, and in Devil Blade they work pretty much as advertised. Get a brief period of invincibility, clear the screen of immediate danger, and damage a bunch of stuff. All kinds of bombs can be obtained throughout each stage too, which allows for all sorts of usage scenarios. Not only that, the bomb stock is always topped up to 3 at the beginning of a new stage, giving you a fair shake at progression if a boss has been especially nasty to you. But there's so much more to the bombs here. For one, and this isn't overtly mentioned, if at all, in the how to play, whenever a bomb is deployed, a shield will also be activated, which will allow you to take a hit from any shot or enemy collision. This means that on a defensive level, bombs are probably the most powerful asset a survival-based player will have at their disposal. This is in addition to the many shields that are distributed alongside the bombs in every stage. If a shield is already in play, bonus crystals will be released instead. Once again, sacrificing a bomb right off the hop will engage a shield, which can allow for an early scoring strat in this regard. But that doesn't mean that things will stay easy. Performing well will result in the enemy level increasing, which means more bullets and more complex patterns. Played over the course of 5 main stages, each is capped off with a memorable, amazing, multi-phase boss fight filled with dazzling, often challenging but manageable patterns, and even a little trash talk for good measure. I promise you'll be thinking of these fights for some time to come. Stage 2, for example, is one of the most fun laser wheel encounters there is. Stage 3 features an incredible high-energy fight in hyperspace. It's so much fun and gives you a real feeling of satisfaction when they go down in flames. One interesting facet to these boss encounters is that their health gradually dwindles as sort of a timer. Bosses and even sub-bosses all time out in this manner, so even if a single shot isn't fired, a pacifist run might be entirely possible with this in mind. Add to all of this a tiny, very forgiving hitbox and a comprehensive telegraphing system for enemy movement and attack patterns that works quite a bit better than the one found in Natsuki Chronicles, and what you get is an incredibly approachable game that'll make new players feel like a badass and allows veterans to easily root the game in no time at all. It's a great place to start for sure. I've only really played on normal, but other difficulties for those with more or less skill are also present. Easy slows and reduces enemy attacks while adding an autobomber, reducing the extend score, and starting the player off with a shield by default. Meanwhile, hard mode ratchets up enemy shot speed and intensity while removing the shield activation when using a bomb. Then the game taunts you, just a little at first, but then more and more until playing for survival isn't enough. If you're like me, you probably love seeing big flashing solutions to a bunch of math light up on the screen to be added to your point total. And Devil Blade is gonna dare you to do risky things like a troublemaker in grade school in the name of big gains. All of the extends in Devil Blade are score-based. For every 3 million points in normal, you'll be awarded another ship, and getting there is going to take guts. Around your ship, you'll see 3 rings. The closer you are to your enemies, the higher the multiplier will be, up to 4 times. But there's another layer to this, because as enemies are killed off, the Berserk gauge in the top left-hand corner of the screen will build up. When it hits 100%, Berserk engages, boosting multipliers and bonus point values by 5 times, leading to huge score gains. This gauge will fall, reducing Berserk by 100% as it depletes completely, until it finally disengages. Dying will also completely reset the Berserk gauge. But here's where things really get risky. You can sacrifice a bomb to enter boost mode, widening the multiplier fields to get higher multipliers further away, careening the Berserk gauge to unreasonable heights into the thousands easily. These widened rings will shrink back to normal size throughout the time that boost is active. Bombs can't be used while boost is engaged, but the boost will end if you're hit as a slight defensive measure. Berserk will stay engaged for way longer as a result, so maintaining high multipliers is really just a boost and a solid mid-boss attack away. One thing to remember though is that Berserk resets just before the main boss encounter, getting cashed out for a point bonus in the process. But it can just be reboosted once the fight starts. The amount of boosts you can perform in a stage is only limited by the amount of bombs you can collect, and if getting big numbers is what you're in Devil Blade for, well, completely sacrificing this defensive aspect can allow for it. And with bomb replenishment every stage, you can really lean into this aspect of the scoring. Stage End also awards you with a number of bonuses, like a no-miss bonus, a shot-down bonus based on the percentage of enemies destroyed, and a boost bonus for overdriving Berserk throughout the stage. All of this comes to a head with Devil Blade's toughest challenge, Inferno Mode. Basically, Berserk is replaced with Deadline, and if the gauge fills from scoring inactivity, you're dead. There are no shields, and no bombers, and that means no boost. It's just you and your multipliers, and that's it. It's vicious. But if you're a hardcore score chaser, or someone just looking for the greatest challenge that Devil Blade offers, this is it. One drawback though is a lack of online leaderboards. Local top 3s are present for every difficulty as part of a player profile card of sorts, but sharing means screenshots only, I guess. It's seriously only a really small issue though, as when you think of it, the original Dezaemon Plus version was obviously completely offline, you know? Devil Blade Reboot has a killer presentation. Its intro, its enemy design, its amazing soundtrack. A comprehensive UI that instantly informs the player, and anyone watching, of how many enemies are destroyed, at what rate, the difficulty, shootdown percentage, credits, frames per second, and more, makes great use of what would otherwise be wasted space due to the 4:3 aspect ratio of the game. The backgrounds might not be as intricate as, say, a Tatsujin O or anything, but they still fit the bill and look pretty cool in the setting they're used. Everything else though, the exquisite design here could only have come from someone that was a part of Vanillaware. Heretofore still the ultimate kings of 2D games in my opinion. Even the unlockable retro mode has that early PlayStation 2D charm, typical of most games made with Dezaemon Plus. And while Reboot is definitely the game you want to be playing in this release, there's still some incentive to play this remade original version in the form of some Steam achievements. Most, if not all of which, actually seem fairly attainable. On the sound front, an excellent soundtrack reminiscent of many shooting game greats heightens the experience further. There's definitely a lot of flavor incorporated that seems to pay homage to several soundscapes, particularly those of Konami or Hitoshi Sakamoto. It's unfortunate then that many of the sound effects are the same typical run-of-the-mill effects used in perhaps hundreds of other Dojin games. At the cost of coins obtained through regular gameplay, all sorts of other unlockables are also available, like stage select, reboot and retro sound tests, wallpapers, galleries, and more. But I can't show them to you, or the ending sequence, or the credits. This is where a bit of controversy comes in, because in an effort to keep the game spoiler-free, there is a bit of a harshly worded splash screen asking that certain aspects of the game not be shared via streaming or videos such as this one. And fine, no worries there, you should be checking this all out for yourself anyway, but for those of us that do live stream and produce videos of this kind of content, like this one, a no-nonsense live setting option is available that will automatically restrict the game to streaming-friendly modes and content only. Of course, this means no ending and no credits. The game just skips right to the final score. I think the credits should have been untouched with the option to skip, but with a game this good, it's a tiny price to pay. Despite a couple of minor hangups, Devil Blade Reboot has got to be a solid contender for SHMUP of the Year this year. There have been some good ones so far, but nothing touches this one in terms of accessibility, presentation, or fun factor. It has it all, and I'm looking forward to getting all of those achievements. Hopefully sometime in the future we'll also see Devil Blade Reboot on home consoles as well. I'm down for any kind of physical edition, collectors or otherwise. Until then though, the road to 100 million points is calling my name. I hope you enjoyed the inaugural episode of Bullet Tengoku on the new Tengokuno channel. We're off to an excellent start, hitting our 7-day goal of 100 subs in just 3. Our next milestone is 1,000 in 1 month. I think we can do it, but a share, a like, and a comment could go a long way. Subbing and hitting the bell should ensure you never miss a new video. With that said though, the next Tengokuno feature will be something totally new, a completely different facet of the channel meant to bring a whole new audience to our ranks. Diversity is a good thing, and maybe you'll like what drops. The old channel would always lose subscribers with non-SHMUP stuff, but Tengokuno holds potential for growth in more than one genre. It also deserves a chance. Please be patient as we set this new site up, and the next SHMUPs feature will drop before you know it. We'll see you all in the next feature.